Presidency is not as expansive as President Trump would like it to be. He can issue an order. He can direct his Secretary of Education to begin winding down the department, but the authority comes from Congress.
And Kelly, President Trump also says he spoke to some of his cabinet secretaries along with Elon Musk today. What is he saying about that conversation?
He's saying he's going to have meetings like this every couple of weeks, and part of what they want to do, in the president's words, is to retain the best people and to be careful about how they are going through the mass firings and the reducing the size of the federal workforce and the departments and programs. And so he referred to the scalpel versus hatchet approach. Many in Congress have raised questions, and certainly even among some of the cabinet officials have raised questions about the approach taken by DOGE and if it is targeting some of the good workers and key areas that are actually needed and therefore potentially doing harm. There's dispute about that, but the president is saying they're going to have these meetings to try to streamline the approach and to more effective. But he persists in saying reducing the workforce and cutting spending is necessary.
And Kelly, NBC News has exclusive new reporting about a big policy change the Trump administration could be making when it comes to NATO. That's the North Atlantic Alliance. What should we know?
Well, what this is referring to is the president, according to reporting by our colleagues Courtney Kuby and Carol Lee and Julie Serkin, that this is about being able to pick and choose among the NATO partnerships for the purpose of defense. President Trump has long been frustrated that not all members of the NATO alliance are paying the same portion of their GDP for the common defense. The United States has always shouldered a big responsibility here, and part of the agreement in Article 5 is that an attack on one is an attack on all, and all members would respond and protect any partner nation that comes under attack. That happened when the United States was hit on 9/11 and other countries came to our aid. He's now saying he would perhaps pick and choose, this is according to the reporting, which countries he would defend based on how involved they are in paying for the common defense.
Yeah, a lot changing. Thank you, Kelly O'Donnell, as always, for tracking it. We appreciate it. We are following breaking news involving tariffs. President Trump has just signed an executive order pausing some tariffs on Canada and Mexico for 1 month. That reversal comes 2 days after the president hit both countries with 25% tariff rates. Joining us now, NBC News business and data correspondent Brian Chung. So, Brian, talk to us about the goods that would be impacted here, especially under the trade agreement.
Yeah, understandably, this is a little bit confusing because we had the tariffs, and then for some industries we don't, and now there's this other wide-ranging exemption. Let me just explain exactly what happened. Yesterday, there was that carve-out for automotive parts and automotive industry-related products, so a car coming in from Canada would no longer be covered under that 25% tariff. Now the news is that the president has signed an executive order, as you mentioned, in just the last few minutes, and now broadens the exemptions under these tariffs to anything that complies with the USMCA. This is a trade deal that was brokered between these three countries during Trump's first administration at 2020. So again, it's going to cover most goods. Actually, the White House says about 50% of Mexican imports will be covered under this exemption, about 62% of Canadian imports. I haven't been able to verify those exact numbers, but that does suggest that there are still other types of items in Clay that would still be subject to the 25% tariff. And I want to point out, it does seem that that 10% tariff on Canadian energy imports and Canadian oil does still remain in place as well.
And so in response to this, the stock markets have been very up and down, and hit for us, these exemptions only last 1 month. So how are consumers and businesses preparing?
Yeah, that's a really critical point that you bring up here. So these exemptions, again, only take us through April 2nd, at which point the Trump administration is actually looking at reciprocal tariffs for every other country around the world, and then perhaps for Canada and Mexico as well, depending on what the progress on fentanyl looks like, which is what they've hinged these 25% tariffs to. But when it comes to kind of your original question here about exactly how all of this all works together, we don't really have any sort of insight into, okay, yeah, here's the exact timeline for after April, there's going to be this or that tariff. This is just kind of an extension. But yeah, as you mentioned, the stock market has not had a good week so far. We'll have to see what happens in the days to come.
All right, Brian Chung, thanks so much. Ukrainian President Zelensky is looking to shore up support for his country at a European Union summit in Brussels.